So thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Alexandra Guerrero and I'm the Patient Services Manager at the ALS Society of BC. Welcome to the Patient Information Webinar Series number 8. Please note that today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the ALS BC website for future viewing. Our Patient Information Webinar Series is proudly presented by Tanabic Pharma Canada. Today, we're pleased to welcome Stacey Harpell, is a specialist in augmentative and alternative communication (AAC) and assistive technology (AT) with 26 years of experience. A former associate professor at the University of Alaska, Stacey has developed numerous AAC clinics and authored the Saskatchewan Provincial ALS and AAC manual. She currently serves as the Client Services Manager at CAYA. CAYA is the Communication Assistance for Youth and Adults. It's a provincial program dedicated to supporting adults in British Columbia with complex communication needs by providing personalized communication tools and ongoing support. CAYA collaborates with health providers and support networks to maximize participation, self-determination, and quality of life for its clients. This session is comprehensive, deep and dive designed for people living with ALS or PLS and their caregivers. Stacey will guide you through the evolving landscape of communication technology, from simple message banking to cutting-edge AI solutions. Thank you, Stacey.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. The first thing I need to do is to say, with deep gratitude and respect, I am honored to be learning and unlearning on ancestral and unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish Nations, and Tsleil-Waututh. I'm Stacey. I am a speech language pathologist. I also call myself a friend because I have so many and I care about them. And I am the client service manager at CAYA. Hello and wonderful to meet everybody. I have run an ALS clinic for many years at City Hospital in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So although I'm here today to talk about CAYA, I have real life experience in this area. CAYA was created in 2005 to address the AAC communication needs of students that were graduating from high school that use AAC. And in 2010, eligibility expanded to all adults. So CAYA deals exclusively with clients who use AAC. What is AAC, you ask me? Really good question. We're going to come back to this right away. CAYA is a community program. We are not hospital-based. Hospitals have their own speech pathology department. We don't do a rapid service, and we do have wait lists, which means we don't have coverage for sick time, for vacation time, or for leaves in a catchment area. I'll go back to why I'm talking about that later. Funding. We are funded for CAYA by the government of BC, specifically the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Demand for services exceeds CAYA's capacity. As a result, that wait list. I wrote myself a note to say again that we don't have coverage for vacation or sick time or leaves, but I've just said that, so we won't worry about that. So here's the province of BC. If you have ALS or PLS and live in Vancouver and Richmond, your SLP will not be the CAYA SLP SLPA team. Catherine is the SLP at the UBC ALS clinic, and she's the person that you'll be seeing with access to our loan bank. But for the rest of the province, for everybody else, we have SLP, so speech language pathologist and speech language pathologist assistants, and we have them throughout the province. We have centers in Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, Central and North Island, Greater Victoria, Okanagan and the Kootenays, and the Northern Health Region, as you can see here on the picture. Does that make sense? Moving forward, thank you. So there are lots of reasons for CAYA and for AAC. We'll still get back to what that means, but I want to talk to you about the people who are serviced by CAYA. Around 49% have something called congenital disabilities. That's just a medical term meaning they were born without the ability to use speech enough to communicate their daily needs. And around 51% have acquired conditions, so any of those diseases that will need communication supports. So we have a pictogram here. I like pictograms. You'll hear this way too many times. So we have a lot of people with stroke, about 18% of our population. Alex, can you see the laser here? Oh, good, thank you. People with CP or cerebral palsy, developmental delay, Parkinson's, autism, and about 9% of our clients have autism. So there's a lot of different reasons that we see people, but that's kind of how many people and the kind of different issues that we deal with. There's that small little area here that's 3% other. Lots of people tend to ask me about that. And that's for primary progressive aphasias, Parkinson's plus, like the PSP or the multiple system atrophy. It's a small population, but it is increasing. This is us. Once a year for 4 days, we fly everybody in from around the province and we get together for AGM. And during that, we usually have a subject matter, somebody that will come and tell us some big information that we're all together to learn. And it's kind of 4 days of a lot of fun and a lot of deep learning. So the services that CAYA offers, it's a hybrid service delivery model. What that means is during COVID, when everybody we couldn't see everybody, we started to do more and more virtual services. And a hybrid just means that we do virtual and in-person services. So how much we see you in person and how much we see you online depends on a lot of factors, your factors and our factors, the health of the person or where we're going to see, the support of the environment. You need somebody to help you with a virtual model. It's often hard to do that yourself while you're interacting. The distance to travel, some of those far northern communities, they either really must have in-person or really must have virtual. It depends on who they are and if they have Wi-Fi. And then seasonal weather. And it's customized according to the situation. So Stacey, you've been talking about AAC and CAYA does AAC. What is AAC? That is augmentative alternative communication. Augment is just a word that means to add to something. If I augment my lunch, I grab an apple or more likely a cookie. It means to add to. Alternative is a whole new way of doing something. I have a salad today, but I decided to have an alternative lunch and I had soup. So let's put that in the context of communication. What is AAC dependent on your current communication? So AAC is a set of tools and strategies that individuals use to solve everyday communication challenges. AAC is used in situations when individuals do not have adequate functional speech. It can take on a huge amount of forms: a shared glance, text, gestures, facial expressions. It goes on and on. And I know that's a little bit confusing. We're going to stay with the subject matter for a little while. Between 80 to to 95% of people with ALS and PLS will not be able to meet their daily communication needs using natural speech at some time in the progression. And I took that off from the National Health Institute on just March 5th. So, yep, that's pretty big. What is AAC? Everybody uses multiple forms of communication based on the context and communication partner. Effective communication occurs when the intent and the meaning of a message is conveyed. It doesn't really matter, or it's much less important on how that message is conveyed. I'll keep talking. So there are 5 modes of AAC, and here they are. These are modes that we all have. I'm going to spend some time here and we're going to talk this through because it's important that you understand. Technology. I used to get consults to the hospital. This client in hospital looking at the fan, not sure what they need. I thought there needs to be a simple, easy way that we can remember the different modes of AAC, so I used a hand. We typically carry our hands around with us so we can look at them. Number 1, the thumb, our opposable thumb, is technology. We have used technology for millennia to communicate. Nowadays, we use our smartphones, our iPads, and computers. But in 3000 BC, it was the invention of paper. In 1441, it was the invention of the printing press. Technology has always been a really important way of how we communicate, but it is just one of multiple ways, and that is so important to understand. The next one that I've chosen, you're going to hear a lot about this in the next hour. Picture word boards. I put that with the finger because we often point to picture word boards. It's one of our most common ways of communicating. At CAYA, we tend to call it our backup system, but it is not just a backup system. It is fundamental and incredibly important that you understand. We all use pictures to communicate and not just here and there. It's fundamental and should be used all the time, not just in emergencies. Some of the first pictures in the world, Lascaux, France, 14,000 years ago, they would put these pictographs on the wall. There's actually thousands of them, and it would explain where great hunts were, where good food was to find, where it was safe to be. We have used picture word boards our entire lives as human beings. The next one is gestures. I'm not quite sure why I chose that finger for a gesture. Might be a powerful way of reminding. Gesture systems are incredibly important. I'm going to actually read this because it's that important. Understanding these help expand our communication in very surprising ways. Research shows that parents can infer meaning in 1 millimeter movement in their child's face. For those of us who know us really, really well, we call them circle ones, life partners. It's not just a spouse, best friends, children. They actually, and this is really important, they actually don't tend to listen to our words very much. It's how we say those words. Ever come home and your partner says, "How was your day?" And you're like, "Oh, it was great, thanks. Just absolutely brilliant." Little movements in our face convey so much meaning, and it is so important that we understand all of those gestures. There's many different ways that we use gesture systems and many different kinds of gesture systems, but they're important, and your speech path and speech path assistant do understand those. Gestures are with us during the progression of the disease, so we always want to have an understanding of them and how to use them in an ongoing way. That 4th finger, it is our wedding finger. Uh-oh, I'm not married. But we usually have an object on that finger, and it helps us understand objects in our environment. We use what we look at as context on both a subliminal and a way that is easy to understand. If I keep looking at my watch, you know, and can infer meaning. If I keep looking at the door, you also can look and have some context. We use objects in the environment way more than you're even aware of. And then the baby finger, the less strong but incredibly important baby finger, is all speech or residual speech. We need to think about speech in a slightly different way now if you have a diagnosis of ALS or PLS. The rate, if the rate and the precision of your speech decreases, it does not mean that you don't use your speech. It just means that we need to think about it in calculated, thoughtful ways to get the most that we possibly can for the longest that we can. So those are the 5 modes of AAC. All communication is based on them. How you communicate, how I communicate, how your children and grandchildren communicate are all based on those methods. And when you understand that, it makes some speech difficulties easier to plan for. Back to our services. CAYA provides a time-dependent service. It does the assessment of all those things we just spoke about, of your clients or your abilities to communicate in different environments, the people that you're talking to, how you talk to them, and the different AAC systems available. We're talking mostly about that opposable thumb, all the different forms of technology. And then after the assessment done, we give you some short-term trials of different equipment to see what works in your home and what works well. After we've done those trials, you've chosen usually one piece of equipment, and that's a long-term loan. And then the implementation. So once an appropriate communication system is determined, the system is customized for you. Customization means what vocabulary do you need in there? How are we going to put it? The team of people around you are trained how to use it, not just yourself, but the team of people. And then we support that by doing training and resources. So sometimes periodic training opportunities happen. If you have different staff being involved, they might need to know. And then we sometimes create or provide resources so that you can understand how to do more with your technology. The focus is on the successful implementation of the AAC solutions. Then there's follow-up. So now that you have your technology and people understand gestures and you know when to use your speech or not, well, is that it, Stacey? Do we only get 4 months and then you're done? No, that's not the way it is. There's follow-up. We monitor and we can update. You can call us. There's lower technology or higher technology as you need. What CAYA is not is speech therapy. We are all speech therapists and speech language pathology assistants and a tech team and administration, but we do not do therapy. We are not long-term or continuous professional service. And remember, we do have that wait list. Funding. For CAYA, it's funding is provided by the government of BC. I've told you which ministry, but that means that you do not have a direct cost. So the technology and the mounting systems are provided for free. There is no direct costs. Now, occasionally, there is a significant issue. I can think of one year somebody accidentally drove over their system and their computer kind of broke into a million pieces. In those situations, we do look about cost recovery, but on a client-to-client basis. Does that make sense, everyone? There's no funding. If it breaks, you need to talk to me and we'll figure out how we're going to do the replacement of that. Thank you, Alex, for nodding. We're going to be at this infographic. Oh, look. Remember Stacey talked about that finger pointing to pictures? Here's a great example. These are all of the things that somebody with a progression of ALS may or may not use. So first, when we're talking, we think about voice preservation. We're going to go into this in detail, but that's where voice messaging and story banking is. Also, while we're talking, remember when I said we need to talk about voice in a calculated manner? A voice amplifier will help with that. Then there's lots of technology. Usually the progression is as this is going on, our voice tends to get a little more difficult and we get a tablet with some communication app on it. We'll have a short-term trial of a few different apps, but then you choose one. Then, if that is difficult and your hands aren't working as well, we do some head pointing or switches. And then if there's some progression there, we use our eyes to look through at computers or those picture word boards to access the vocabulary. Now, at any time during this, there are many reasons that you need to have partner-based assisted scanning so that you are making a message to somebody else holding up a picture word board. So I'm going to spend a little minute and I'm going to talk about these boards that are in the middle. You may have heard CAYA people before talking about them as your backup system. I don't want you to think about it that way. These picture word boards are incredibly important. This one is a pain board and it talks about comfort. This one is a QWERTY board so that you could spell out each message. There are many different boards that you can get. That is highly recommended. I say print them out, put them in your physician's folder so that when you're going to the doctor, they have your own picture word boards. I keep them around the house. These are important things to have. My favorite is this board. It's called an E-Tran board. You look through the middle, and as you're looking up in different ways, you can spell messages, you can say numbers, you can say yes and no to questions. These picture word boards I would have during the whole progression, and I would use them frequently. They're that important. I'm going to pause for a second. We're going to go into some of these in a depth, but does anybody have an overall question right now?
I don't see anything on the chat. I only
Okay.
see is Jan Dunn is still working in North Island.
Ah, Jan, she retired last May. Yep, we have a wonderful person named Christine that is in her place, but yes, Jan Dunn has retired. She is an amazing human being. All of our staff are. All right. Is there anybody here watching that is using a voice amplifier? All right. Is there anybody using technology? So anything from a tablet all the way down to an eye gaze device. Is there anybody here using any of these?
They can put it on the Q&A.
Okay. All right. I'm moving us forward. Yes, it's time is a going. So Alex really wanted me to talk about this. It is incredibly important, so I made sure to have time to do this. Voice preservation is an
Oh,
umbrella term.
just sorry, Stacy.
Yep.
Because somebody said not yet. Needs something to replace hands. So
All right. Looks like you're going into that technology. Let's talk about voice preservation. And thank you. Anybody feel free to pop up and put messages in or use your eye gaze to type messages or your friends around you. Voice preservation is important. It's an umbrella term, and under it are three different things. I've taken out this quote right from one of our handouts that you'll get. The decision whether to use voice, message, or story banking and how to go about it is deeply personal. Everybody will have different thoughts about it. It's possible that a person uses a combination of all three. It's possible that people don't use any types of banking, but any type of banking allows the user to secure their natural speaking voice if they need or choose to use an augmentative communication tool or technology. We consider this an insurance plan for the voice. All right, I'm starting to understand this, Stacey. Tell me more. Voice banking. Voice banking records a person's speech to create a synthetic voice. It can be from videos, it can be from audios. Sometimes the voice is not a perfect replica. Lots of people are very interested in voice cloning. Voice cloning is an artificial intelligence, and it is right now fraught with a lot of legal issues. We do help our clients go forward with this, but there are many legal issues to think through, and it's very important that we have to address each of those issues. We don't do this. We help you do this. We help to the point that we can give you instructions on how to do this, but it is your decision to do. Cyber criminals use AI voices every day. They use the cloning technology to create voices and interactions of people that can fool anyone. And I took that right off of Google on March 5th, 2026. It is amazing at how good the cloning is nowadays, and you need to really think through who owns that voice in the future and how it's being used if you're doing voice cloning. We do support, but we don't do that for you. Let's get back to voice banking. The total amount of audio recordings that we need can be from 1 minute to 60 minutes. The longer you have recorded of your voice, usually the better quality of the voice. Results are best if it's taken close to the beginning of a progression of your disease while your speech is fairly unchanged. Don't worry if this is too late. There are lots of really good voices out there, and family members can donate their voice. I've seen people take message machines, a recording on a message machine of a friend from 2 years previously to make a voice. There's lots of different ways that you can get a good, decent voice if your voice is already gone. In most cases, the best samplings is when your speech has that prosody, that up down thing. You know, when I'm talking about a question, my voice goes up, and then when I'm saying something sternly, I can put a lot of power in the voice. So the best banking happens with that, but it is not necessary. Now, the next form of voice preservation is message banking. I got to tell you, this is a huge an important thing. Using a digital recorder for personally meaningful expressions, like generational stories, special ways of greeting and commenting. You can retrieve these messages on your iPad or on your device, but you cannot spell out unique messages and use the same voice. That was for voice banking. This is message banking. But message banking gets the unique characteristics of who you are. Greetings. I can think about 100 different clients saying greetings. I remember one priest, his greetings were not hello, good morning. It was God bless you and keep with you. That shows the uniqueness that is part of his culture and part of how he greeted. I can think of other burly men in Saskatchewan that would record the messages for how are you this morning going, uh, literally, because that's the way they had done that their whole lifetime. So it's about getting to the characteristic of who you are. Um, needs and comfort, things that you would want to ask help with, describing pain, food and drink, food preferences, questions you might want to ask your grandkids, your spouse, entertainment needs. Message banking is incredibly powerful, and we provide a digital recorder so that you can get each of those messages in. I like it because it is the strongest way to convey emotions, concern, or negation of things. Um, Instead of having to argue or say a fact over and over again, you can record a simple message that you can use many times. I can think about grandparents recording a message on their device through message banking saying, "Hey kids, just settle down now." That's what they had said for a long time. And then when they could hear that in their own voice, they in fact settled down. Then story banking. Story banking, I also sort of include music banking in here. These are the personal legacy stories. They're longer in length. I do tend to include music here, like happy birthday, so that you can sing happy birthday in your own voice to your grandkids. Songs that are taught generationally, the way things were when you grew up, family, funny memories, foolish mistakes that you've made in the past, major milestones, schooling, jobs, movie, marriage, children, those romance stories, how you met your partner, your first memories of birth and your children. There's so many different important ways that we can story bank. Accidents or injuries, I always like to say it's like explaining what that scar meant to you story. Um, Also, specialized knowledge and skills, how to fish, how to bake the best bread ever, how sourdough has come from your grandparents down to you, and now it's going on to this next generation. Lots of really powerful ways of story banking. Any questions? On we go.
Oh, good.
Now, that was about that top part of the circle. We're now going into sort of the side site, talking about voice amplification. Speech actually takes 5 different processes. I'm going to roll back while we do this. It's respiration, so we get a nice deep breath, and then we push it up, and then it's phonation, so the vocal folds start vibrating, and it shapes that air. Then there's resonation through our larynx and our nasal pharynx to make shape of it. Then we articulate with the muscles in our mouth and the back of our palate, and it pushes it forward, and it strikes it out, and that is how we speak. And then the prosody, the rhythm and the stress of the speech patterns happen. Speaking actually takes a lot of energy. And energy conservation is appropriate. What that means is you don't do long conversations on the phone in the morning when you're going to try to go and socialize in the afternoon. That's a lot of energy to spend on those muscles and the coordination of them. Voice amplification can really help with that. You get that cute little Madonna mic, or you get a throat one, or you get a lapel one, and you wear a little box to amplify the voice so that the energy is much less, but you still can be heard much easier. Does that make sense? Thank you, Alex. I'm so used to doing this with people around. It's nice to have that feedback. Onward. Back to CAYA service delivery. You've got that long-term equipment and you have some follow-up and support. What that means is when that technology fails, when you need tech support, it needs to be shipped back into us to figure out if we need to give you a new device or fix it. It is incredibly important that you have all of those communication means when the technology is not being used. Picture word boards are the most important. But we do have technical support and maintenance for your device as long as you need it. And we do expect that you're using the communication system, whatever system that is, on a daily basis. CAYA loans AAC technology to clients with appropriate abilities. Remember, we went around and talked about half are born with difficulties and about half acquire difficulties. The majority of what we do are tablet based, but we certainly have many eye gaze and we certainly have many other systems that are not technology based. Dedicated devices remain available for those who require them. That's a fancy way of saying if things are not working for you, we will continue to look at finding a means that does work for you. Here's another really important thing. Mounting. So you have a tablet. Somebody already said that their hands are having difficulty working. Well, sometimes you don't want to hold a tablet if your hands are difficult. Sometimes you need to have it mounted in front of you so that you can use a stylus and come up and you don't have to have that extra energy of holding it. So we really think of mounting as incredibly important. Devices are mounted in a stable position that make them easy to access for the client. Sometimes if you get to the point that you're using an eye gaze device, you'll have to make a choice on where you're using that device because mounting systems are very expensive. Some people will use it in a bed, some people will use it in like a lazy boy chair that's quite comfortable. You need one place that you can go to use your technology that way, and then other places that you can use your other forms of communication. CAYA funds the purchase of even complicated mounting systems once they are recommended by an occupational therapist. So we have our own mounting systems, we use GF Strong, and then if you have an individual occupational therapist that's doing an assessment and can write a recommendation, we will consider that as well. Repairs versus training. Our technician provides physical repair to equipment and parts, hardware technical support. Um, is the app working? Why is it not working? What's the memory? What's the storage? Software upgrades occasionally, if not downloadable. The majority of what I should say about here is if you are taking thousands of pictures and videos, store them on a separate device. We don't have all of our technology with huge memories. We have only enough to run the software and the communication software that we use. Our SLPA assistants provide implementation and training support, and they will also download the software for you and modify it so that it can meet your needs. We have many community partners, and that's a big important thing. GF Strong, the ATS there, they are CAYA affiliates, which means they can use our loan bank. They can get the devices. The ALS service, which is now at UBC, Catherine is a lovely human being. The SLDP department at GF Strong also tends to have a lot to do with us. We have a part called CAYA Partners. Right now, we're in a new database. It was a lot of work to do, and CAYA Partners are suspended until we get the database up and going, and actually we're building one for the CAYA Partners as well. SET BC is an important service partner for us. Though that 50% of people or 49% that are born with communication difficulties, they come to us through SET BC, hopefully. Technology for Living, all the 5 different health authorities, the ALS Society of BC. Thank you, Alex. March of Dimes, UBC, the SAS department, that's the speech, language, and audiology department at UBC, and Neil Squire. We have close relationships with everybody there. All right. Here's some stories. I can tell you 1,000 things. It's until you see other people using their communication that you can see what really can be done. Here is Sean. He's had ALS for over 7 years, and only in the last few couple of years has it impacted his ability to speak. I now make appointments, order groceries, talk, text, email, and study using the eye gaze tablet CAYA provided. So eye gaze. You can see the mount kind of, and you can see how he has to be quite still and he uses just his eyes. Among other things, it has enabled me to show everyone that I am still here, that I am still me. That was really powerful. Alex, in like 2 slides, we're going to see if we can get Jan's up and going. Oh, no, in 1 slide.
Now?
So we're gonna do some fancy magic, and I'm gonna stop sharing so Alex can start sharing, so that we can hear Jan's message. I've stopped sharing.
Okay.
Okay,
Can you see the screen?
I can.
Okay.
Can everybody else?
Her breathing may be labored, her voice may be weakening, but Jan Bruce is an unstoppable force. Each day is a new day. You can make an effort to enjoy your life each day. Each day is rewarding. For over a decade, Jan has been battling ALS, a progressive degenerative disease. There's no research trials that know of in North America presently, and there is no cure. She's been one of the loudest advocates for Project Hope and its mission to find a cure through clinical trials at UBC. The research is taking off is pretty encouraging. Jan has always enjoyed an active lifestyle. I've made many hobbies. Playing hockey, swimming especially in the ocean, skiing, volunteering. I have a 1,800cc Kawasaki motorcycle I used to ride. Since 2012, my hobbies have morphed to painting, playing video games, and writing. These days, Jan likes to feel the sun on her face and follow her favorite hockey team. Do you watch every playoff game? Who's your favorite player? Quinn Hughes. The captain. The whole excitement around the Canucks being in the playoffs lifts everybody up. And we have a lot of conversation with people living with ALS during the games. So everybody's watching, everybody's cheering them on. Of course, there are things she wish she could overcome. If I had one choice, whether to walk or talk normally, I would choose talk. But as you can see, fans do not need to be vocal to show their support. Pure joy for Jan with her Canucks back in the playoffs. Her indomitable spirit and resilience helping to propel the Canucks to the next round. Go Canucks go. Jason Ferris, local news.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey.
We're not quite done because what I want to talk about is, did you notice that Jan used the thumb, the technology? Did you also notice that she used the residual speech? Did you also notice, I won't use the gesture finger, but do you notice how she used gestures throughout it? That is rich integrated communication, and that is AAC. On to our last few slides. This is Gary, who worked in the film industry until he was diagnosed with bulbar ALS, and he had a text-to-speech app to retain his independence, make choices, and express his views. His wife is so appreciative of their ability to communicate with each other long after he was not able to use his voice. This is Ashley. She does not have ALS, but she is a member of Toastmasters and Cool Communicators and uses a fancy device to communicate. This is how you get a hold of us, people. If you go to our website right here, that is how you make a referral. As soon as you go to the website, it will say refer here, and that is a fantastic way to get us to pay attention and to get you in our waiting list. Now we're kind of done, Alex. Oh, good. It's like 13 minutes too, so we're running okay-ish. Are there any questions? Oh, oh, I can't hear you, Alex. You have it on,
Yes,
there we
sorry.
go. There you go.
I was like, okay. So it was a great commercial. Some people are, I'm just reading some of the Q&A questions. Uh, could you give me an example of Neil Square involvement?
Sure. Um, Makers Making Change is under that umbrella, and they 3D print key guards. So if it's difficult to have single finger isolation and you're trying to press a button on an iPad, sometimes you need a key guard so you can creep your fingers along and press it in there. They used to be a couple $100 ordered from the States. Makers Making Change will often do it for us by 3D printing at a fraction of that price.
Okay. TTS?
TTS, text to speech. So smartphones have normal TTS, but we have apps that have a ton of different information, and it means that you text, you put the letters in, and you press it, and it speaks it out.
And can the app be installed on a PC?
We don't do it that way. We look at Android or iOS because we don't provide computers. What we do is tablet based. But yes, there are some.
But that could be also, I know CAYA doesn't provide computers, but
Yep, for
yeah.
sure. For sure.
Okay. Approximately how long is the waiting list?
It really depends on where you are in the province. It's not for other people with other diseases, we say 2 months to a year. We prioritize people with ALS. And they're in a lot faster than that. Again, this will be the third time I say it, so it'll be easy to understand. We didn't have a speech path in a position for around 8 months, and we don't have coverage for that. So those people in that area had to wait longer than average. So there's no simple answer to that, but we do the
Um,
very best that we can.
yes. Why isn't funding through Ministry of Health?
We're not health. We're in the community. Health is for people in the hospital, and we don't do that. We are a community-based program. Now, that CAYA partners and CAYA affiliates, they tend to be hospital-based, and we can give them some equipment, but we are not in the hospital. We're not funded by the Ministry of Health. We are a very different part of that government funding.
Okay. Somebody is already waiting for a referral to be proceed.
Yay! Wonderful.
And no questions, just a comment. Thank you for the support you provide to those living with ALS and PLS in the Okanagan and Kootenays. Tara and team are excellent ambassadors of CAYA. Thank you for your
Yay!
information, Stacey.
Thank you. It makes me very happy. We have amazing teams and amazing staff, and their dedication is second to none. Well, I have to feel like that. I am the client service manager, but I am so honored to be a part of such a great team.
Yes, it's a we have talk to speech. They didn't put anything else. Oh, talk to speech. I guess that's the app
Text
they
to
were.
speech, TT. Oh,
He put talk to speech. I'm not sure if that's a different one.
there are many out there. And oops, I have heard of that one. I'm going to Google it real quick. Talk to speech.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, So do you mean text to speech? There is 4 apps called free text to speech, talk to speech. I think I've heard about that one before. We tend to focus on the ones that are the most popular around the world, and that is not the one within my easy knowledge base, but it doesn't mean that it's not out there and incredibly powerful.
Okay. How soon should you consider to ask for a referral?
So you've been diagnosed. Have you been seen at the ALS clinic?
I don't know that person. Yes.
Okay. So usually at that point, Catherine would refer you to us. We like it when you have a nice, strong voice so we can talk about the voice preservation and have lots of time. So sometimes when we get a referral, we talk to the people and then we put them on monitor and we call them every 3 or 6 months because they're not having speech issues, and that can go on for years. But we do like to do that voice preservation thing fairly early.
Okay. Here's who is this subsidiary SLP and how to contact?
So that kind of sounds like you've already been referred. The catchment as Surrey, part of it, we didn't have somebody in that line for quite a while, many, many, many months. So there is a little bit of a delay there, but call CAYA if you have any needs. Now, the fact that you're saying the speech path means that maybe you've been a client. If you are a client, then call right in. If you're not, then make a referral.
So the same person is not talk to speech, it was talked to text. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Can you read that for me again, Alex?
It's not talk to speech, it's
Speech.
talk to text.
Oh, talk to text. Is that the app that we're talking about?
I believe so. If that person can, that person reply. Yes.
Oh, good. Yes, I see that actually right now. I tend to Google things as we're talking about them. Good, that sounds like you know what you're doing, and we don't, that app itself is not one of the world's most popular, but we certainly have heard of it.
I believe that person is doing as asking that because his hands are not working to text. So
Uh,
probably he's
so remember that circle? It sounds like you're over on this side and you need to be doing some of those eye gaze boards and looking at the technology that would use your eyes. Or sometimes we have the dot in the forehead, so if you have good head, neck, trunk stability. That's an assessment. We're good at that.
yes. Yeah, another person said that they will contact Catherine at the ALS Center. Um,
Good.
I believe we are. So can I DL the app myself?
Can I download the app myself? If you are a client, if you've done the assessment and it's been deemed appropriate, we can download it to your iPhone if that's how you want it, or your own iPad, or we can get you an iPad and we can download it on that.
Okay. I believe we answered all the questions. They say
Yay.
thank you for the overview and excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Just reading all the comments here too. Um, I believe we answered all the questions. Uh,
And we're just coming up to 2 o'clock, so that's good. Can I take 2 more minutes, Alex? You asked me
Absolutely.
about the brain-computer interface and people with ALS. So I really briefly wanted to talk to you about that. Synchrotron is doing computer brain interface. And I was in a meeting in it last week, and that was something that you had really wanted to talk about. They're going to call it a motor neural prosthesis, which is very exciting. Charles Poppelman was one of the presenters, and he's on a 12-year history of getting this up and going. And the way that synchrotron is thinking about a computer-brain interface is that it would be used through Bluetooth to control computers and worked in conjunction with AAC. It's not up and running, but they're working so actively on it. They've had 25 years in the field, and they are making the most gains right now. They're continuing to gather additional evidence, but they use motor intent signals. So if you think about it, it can move a cursor. And they're using stents. So a stent would go in, like you've heard about stents for strokes, into the very important arteries in the middle of your brain, and then they can feel or electrolyze the intent that you have in your brain to move things on your computer. And we're very excited for that to continue to develop. And it's doing really well, and they are focusing on people with ALS.
Sounds great. Thank you
Yeah,
for the update, Stacey.
yay. All right, everybody, it was nice to have this time.
I think, how do we follow that?
Synchrotron. Google Synchrotron. Synchron.
Perfect. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Stacey, for everything.
You're welcome. Thank you.